Welcome to the NAF 5-star International Hartpury Horse Trials, situated here in the heart of rural Gloucestershire. During the competition there will be a CCI 1-star, a CCI 2-star and a CIC 3-star international competitions that will draw the very best riders in the world. With the buzz and excitement from London 2012 and then moving on now towards the European Championships at Malmo in Sweden this year, and indeed the World Equestrian Games in Normandy next year, Hartpury and the level of competition that is run here plays a significant role for the development of both horse and rider to these crucial competitions.
Hi, my name is Eric Winter. I'm the course designer here at Hartpury. I've been here about 4 or 5 years. We're stood now in the indoor school where they run the CIC 3-star dressage competition. I think it's the only competition in the world that runs eventing dressage in the indoor school. It's a great surface, so it works very well for us. And I'd like to really just thank NAF for the sponsorship that they give us and the help that they give us financially for building the cross-country course. You know, it really helps and helps us set the challenge for the world-class competition that we hope to run. Okay, so this is fence 4A and B for the 3-star. Because we're here a week before the event, none of the brush has been cut yet, so it's 8 feet tall. But
so I don't need to withdraw just
no,
yet.
Exactly, no, it won't quite look like that. It will be a scalloped 140 high. They have a 180 base spread on them, so they're quite wide and you need to move forward. And as you can see, they're on top of this bank here. To me, it sort of channels the horses up through. They get a good line to it, but there's a interspace over the second triple brush, which means that they look like they're jumping the second triple brush out into the trees. Let's just walk through the distance in here.
I think it's, I mean, I don't know if you remember it, but I had quite an interesting ride through this last year on a less experienced horse, and it did exactly what you'd think they may do, as in it jumped the first quite well and then it did go green across the distance. So I mean, the distance walks again like the first two combinations at the other classes, a good committed stride. It gives you room to ride to it strongly, give them confidence, but the one I'm talking about last year did go awful green over this second part.
It's the fact that when you jump over this, you jump into the sort of tree height.
Absolutely,
it makes the horses short. It's a difficult one to put the distance in for, because actually that first fence, those triple bar brushes, when they're sloping like that, normally if this was in a cold situation just in the middle of a field, I would say they'd land 3 meters behind that. But here, with the interspace part of it, they actually shorten and tighten a little bit on it. They do. So this is much more of a classic two-stride sort of distance. But I think, you know, as a course designer, you have to ask questions that say this is a 3-star combination.
Absolutely.
You know, these horses, when we tick the box for these horses to jump clear around here, they then go forward to Blenheim, Bramham, those big 3-star competitions, and on to Burley. You know, this is grown up stuff.
And I mean, you know, in 2 or 3 fences time, you've got decent fences in and around the water complex. You as a rider, I don't want to have jumped 3 or 4 very easy fences and then have something huge put in.
When you jumped over this last time, you knew what you were sat on.
Absolutely.
It changed the way you rode to the water to the way you may have predicted you were going to ride the water.
Definitely. So I think again it goes back to riders, and it's interesting the relationship that riders or what riders have to do and what designers have to do. You know, there is such a close relationship. And
to me, they're very like training, designing. To me, it's very much like teaching a lesson, that you start your lesson off nicely, you get everybody settled down, you get them into a certain pattern. If you can deliver the right things over the first combinations, then actually you get them the horses into a position where they really start to learn. They start to enjoy it, they have fun, they move forward, they start to learn, and then they come out of a course better at the end of it. And that's absolutely crucial to me as a designer.
And if you ride your less experienced horse through here and you can press it forward and it's into the rain and bold, it'll be better in the rest of the course anyway.
Okay, so this is the first water complex. This is quite early in the course to have a water. first fence into the water for the 3-star is the Superflex Lake, which is a cascade. It has water running down over it, and then it's linked to 2 fences, 2 roll tops in the water, which are called the Superflex Cascades. Then, and there's a relationship between those 3 fences, really, the way you jump in over the first and the way you travel to the second.
I think that it's interesting the 3-star fence in the Cascade is quite a strong fence, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got to be really committed to it.
Yeah.
And the horses are going to know now that they're, you're going to know that you're at a 3-star.
Yeah. We had a few horses that pulled up here last year that walked off course. Only 2, I think. But to me, absolutely, I was quite happy with that. I think you set a standard, and you say that's actually, and here, when we're getting into the guts of the course, you start to set that standard.
Yeah.
Very much as this does in the 2-star. I mean, the brush has got to be cut on this, but the respirator reach fence is a big, strong fence going into the water. I mean, it's not actually very big. When the brush is cut on it, it's only about 1.5 meters high.
And it's that old thing, isn't it? Where when as the riders walk the course and they walk down here, their eye is kind of drawn to the gap.
Yes, exactly.
But it's that old thing. If you filled all that in your mind, and then you jump the top of it,
you actually just jump here. It's a tiny little fence.
It's not a great big fence, but it should. I feel that all the fences, all 3 fences here at all 3 levels, are going to give you a bold, straight, confident horse and rider are going to make nothing of it, aren't they?
I think there's always got to be part of the criteria to me in having the water this early in the course is that actually it needs to be fairly simple. It doesn't want to be too complicated. Again, I don't want them pulling them around, and later on in the course there are plenty of challenges that actually ask them to change their pace. So at the start I want that to be fairly positive. And then the 1-star question, very similar. Superflex Lake fence, just a log pile in with a rail on 2 strides before. See, I was quite nervous of this last year, but actually it jumped very well.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that you were nervous of it last year. Is that something that comes across on cross country day? You're a bit nervous?
Undoubtedly, yeah. I think to me, cross country is absolute follow on from competition. That you stand on those first 10 horses in every competition, you stand in the start box or you stand wherever you choose to stand and watch, and your heart is doing 180 miles an hour, and you feel that sort of sick feeling, especially when you're quite close to the limit. And then as they start to jump it and go well, it's like you jumping, like you're riding the horse round, really. Once you've seen 2 horses jump, you start to think, oh, that's not too bad. And as you've seen the 6th or 7th horse, you start to settle down a little bit like you would do when you're riding. When you've got halfway through the course and your horse is really towing you and going, you're thinking, okay, we're away here. Now we can enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's I like the fences into the lake. I think they're positive and good. And you've got another water complex to come.
Yeah, we have later, which is much stronger. Yeah. Okay, this is the advanced fence, the 3-star fence on the Childeric Conundrum. The rumbling you can hear in the background is actually the irrigation system that we have here. Hartpury invested very heavily in this a few years ago to put pipes all the way around the course, so we can now irrigate the entire course and keep the foot in as good as we possibly can.
And it's fantastic. I drove in this morning, and there are little irrigation. What do you call them? Pop-ups everywhere, and it's fantastic to see the course being watered. You know that we're going to arrive here and get decent.
Exactly, and I think that's a key to every running of any horse nowadays. These horses are very expensive. We need to look after their legs, and I think as designers and organisers of events, we need to be very aware of that. This combination here, very different question from the 2-star Childeric Conundrum. Much more of an open question, much more of a power question. You need to turn off the corner and get some strength up here. This has got a 180 top spread, which is the maximum top spread you can have in a 3-star competition, but obviously looks a little bit bigger at the top of this bank, so you have to commit up here to jump this.
Absolutely. I find this it's a fascinating combination, because like you say, you really would like your horse to come up here and ignore the fact that there are undulations to the ground, wouldn't you? You'd like it to react like it's on flat ground, but it might not.
Yes, exactly.
So you've got to be ready for that.
Yeah, and it's the riders to actually feel what they're sat on and they'll be able to adjust the horse when they get up here. To me, quite often what I see here is with the novice here at this level riders, they turn up too quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
They're too conscious of making the time, and they turn up too quickly here when we used to have the corner here, and they don't take their time. And actually, 2 or 3 seconds wasted at the prep.
Absolutely.
The setup for this makes the difference, and I hope the table here will make them get straight for it and really ride up here so they've got some power, and then they'll turn the corner, and the corner, which we're going to walk to now, has moved closer to the edge of the bank. So there's actually quite a big drop on the back of the corner.
Yeah. I'll walk the wrong line then. No, I won't be getting there on that.
No.
Wider on 5
Wider.
or shallower on 4?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the choice we're going to have.
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually you might find your horses can shorten in the centre, you need to balance and organise. To me there's enough distance in the middle that you have to wait a little bit and organise. The good horses I think will go on the 4.
Yeah.
I think they'll travel up there, they'll jump over that big, and they'll keep coming round on the tighter line, and you'll be able to jump it here. This is actually only 1.5 meters, this fence. We're going to put a little bit of soft on the top of it, some green brush or something, or flowers, just to pick it out. But actually it will be a little bit forgiving sort of fence. But actually it's the narrowness of the fence that makes the difference.
And the more experienced horses at this kind of level, they'll almost run up that bank and jump that table, and you'll almost see them go, whoop.
Yeah.
You know, they almost wait a sec, don't they? That, you know,
Yeah.
the more experienced ones and the great riders, you know, you'll see Nicholson come up there, and it just almost hang in the air for a second over there, and then that gives him the time to make the decision,
to
turn
take his
on the
turn
floor
and do what he wants to. Again, this has a slow route down there, which has just come back over that other corner, so there's plenty of choices you want to make if you're looking for that first qualification. But actually, if you're going to win here, you've got to make your decision and be positive in the way you ride it, whether you come round there and take your time and go on the 5 in a much deeper arc, or whether you go on the 4 in a much shallower arc. But the more you shallow that arc, the more you get on an angle to this narrow fence, the more that question becomes relevant.
Fascinating that that's only measures 1.5 here, because you know, it's just, because I suppose because you know there's
because
the
you've
drop.
got the drop behind it. I think that makes a world of difference to it. So this is the Empower Tower, which is the little house here, to the magic pool, which is the rail into the pool. Not very big, this fence, but probably one of the most tricky fences on the course. It's separately numbered 15 and 16, so you can jump over this house in a straight line, go down this ramp, around in a big circle over the rail, and then up to the hedge, which is beyond it. All 3 fences have a relationship to each other. They're not, this is a definite one stride pattern. You can't do anything else here. Doesn't matter what you do across the lake, but you have to stay straight. And I think that's part of the key, is that you get in with power and you have to stay straight to it.
Yeah, I watched this a few times a little bit last year, and it's a fascinating fence, because as you walk down the hill, to me it doesn't look like it's going to ride with the flow that it appered to do when good riders rode through it. I mean, it just was nothing, which I know is the way it goes, but I find like you said, the relationship very interesting. Not very big, but very accurate here. And that almost, if you're having a good ride, then sets you up. Your accuracy you've created there.
It's a little bit like a grid of different forms. I mean, that fence is only about 1 metre high, 90 centimetres, but it's the expanse of water you have underneath it, and the fact that you've got a 170 drop off into the water.
It's very interesting to see no water in the magic pool at the moment.
Yeah, no, we've got that all out. We drain all the waters here, so that we can look after the footing and make sure that we re-sand and fill any holes, so that when we actually come to the running of the competition, footing's always good there.
It's very reassuring as riders to know that this level of attention goes into courses like this, because you know, like we discussed earlier, our horses are all very precious to us, and it's very reassuring.
Oh, well, I think the footing in water is one of those things that horses show an immense commitment. When they jump into it, they only trust you that that's not 20 foot deep.
Yeah, totally.
So at the end of the day, if they jump into it, they need to be praised for doing it, and they need to land on good ground and
it's got to be right.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, very
and
much
does the out bit here, the sort of narrow hedge, does that ride quite well generally?
Yeah, it does if you're positive, I think. It's funny to me, this fence I felt rode better the first year than it did last year. The first year we had it, the riders were quite nervous of it, and when we started in the morning there was a whole gathering of 20-30 riders down here watching it jump, and it rode fantastically. Jeanette Breakwell came down here, really positively attacked it, brilliant ride. Everybody did the same thing. Last year, I think almost there was a slight degree of acceptance of it. It had been here last year, it had ridden well last year. They didn't ride in quite so strong, they weren't quite so definite in the middle, and a few horses just had a little sort of knock on the rail, but the rail is frangible, so it does break away if they hit it.
I jumped one of my horses through here last year, and I quite unexpectedly had a brilliant ride through it, and it did kind of leave me thinking, blimey, I almost felt like my horse took me through it, and I felt a bit guilty afterwards that I hadn't been quite as committed, but he jumped it very well.
Prior to this fence, there's two big run and jump fences, which sets your horses in front of you. So hopefully when they come down the hill to it, they're really travelling and they go in a straight line through it. And it's a little bit like an extension of a grid in a school sort of thing to me, but ask them to be brave enough to commit.
So for a unique opportunity to get up close and personal with some of the leading riders in the world, and to see them preparing their horses for these crucial championships, and indeed the heavily anticipated competition here at the NAF Hartpury Horse Trials, please do join me and all the rest of the team between the 7th and the 11th of August, and do visit the website for further details. We look forward to seeing you.